Welcome to High Strangeness, where we ask questions and explore all that is strange and unexpected in our reality.
Welcome to High Strangeness. My name is Tony, I'm your host, and today's episode is going to be another Random Strangeness episode. Today with me I have Anthony Hernandez, who's a returning voice on High Strangeness, and a fellow podcaster as well. How you doing, Anthony?
Doing good. Loving life.
You know it. How are things going in your world with business? And I know the summer's coming up here. You're getting ready to get geared up for your business that you have. Things going good?
Things are going good, yeah. I mean, anyone who listens to me knows that I'm a big fan of just putting your head down and working hard. So that's kind of, there's a time and season for everything. There's times to sow and times to reap. And the reaping gets pretty busy. So we're entering that season in our own business. And again, my podcast listeners know that when we talk about business or family or health and things like that, it's okay to get busy and you just gotta keep going. That's the biggest thing. So that's what I'm doing. Just push on through, keep on going. So, and I encourage anyone listening to do the same thing.
Awesome. Sounds good. All right. Well, like I mentioned just a minute ago, this is a Random Strangeness episode, and this is where we take about 4 or so random topics and we just talk about them, share them with you. Sometimes we share pictures. These are often funny or interesting, sad, scary. They can be anything, and you never really know. So that's why they're completely random as we go through this. Now, as we get into our first episode here, as we get into our first topic here, I want to ask you, Anthony, do you ever have trouble sleeping at night? Have you ever had a difficult night where you just could not sleep?
Yeah, but usually it's because I can't turn my mind off. Like I got a rule, like an hour or two before bed, I can't do anything business related, because then I go to bed thinking like, my mind's just going. I'm thinking, I'm solving problems. I'm trying to figure out how to be the hero, and it's not good. Sometimes I'll sit there for 3 hours and I'll be like, dang it, and so that's usually where my not being able to sleep comes from is just because I can't turn off the brain because I'm always got too many problems to solve. Yeah.
Well, I have my own little, it's like a little system. When I go to bed, I have my own little process to the way I turn the TV down, the way I do this, the way I do that. And usually I go to bed, like I don't lay around. Like I go to bed when I'm tired. And I'm usually asleep 5 minutes after I lay in bed. But if somebody wakes me up a half hour or an hour into it, that's a problem, because then I have trouble getting back to bed.
Well, yeah,
it is weird.
Growing up, I was like 18, and I still had a decent curfew that many of my friends didn't share, simply because when I would come in the middle of the night, you would wake up and you couldn't get back to sleep.
Yeah, exactly. So it's interesting how that works. Different people have different things, and I think probably everybody does experience some case of insomnia at some point through their life. But does it happen for more than one night, right? Like I don't usually have that problem. When I was going through my chemotherapy, I did have some issues where I couldn't get to sleep at night. And I remember saying to the doctors when they were asking me, hey, how's everything going? How's sleep? Saying, hey, man, I haven't slept like all week. Like, what's going on? And they were asking me some probing questions. And finally, I explained that I was taking this one medication at like dinner time. And they said, whoa, you can't take that at night. Like at dinner time, you won't be able to sleep. And I thought to myself, when are you going to tell me that? Like I missed a whole week of sleep almost. So there's different reasons, right, that can cause that.
Yeah, caffeine, I got a rule, I don't take caffeine. I don't drink any caffeine past 5 o'clock, or I put my phone on. There's like a screen time mode on iPhones that'll change the blue light, stuff like that. Because there's several things that people equate to keeping your mind going.
Yeah. So talking about this, I mean, the crazy thing is there is actually a very serious condition out there called fatal familial insomnia. And that's our first topic for today, which is to actually talk about this condition, which is actually pretty scary. I may read a little bit about it real quick. It's a rare genetic condition that affects your brain and central nervous system. It causes you to have trouble sleeping. It can cause memory loss and dementia, muscle twitching, and is a degenerative disease, which means symptoms get worse and severe over time. So, okay, you're thinking, well, what does that mean? Does that mean I'm just going to have trouble sleeping more nights? And the disease is actually, it's far worse than that. It can be far worse than that. The issues with sleeping, it's gradual, and then it gets worse over time. And eventually, the patient will totally get in a situation where they can't sleep at all. It often leads to speech problems, coordination problems, dementia, and believe it or not, within months to a year or a little over a year, death. And that's scary.
Yeah, have you heard? I think there's I don't know how accurate they are. You probably know more about this than I do, or we'll talk about it in the future. But some of the experiments I think that the Nazis did were in regards to sleep and keeping people awake and things like that. And again, maybe some of those are just horror stories, but some of the, I think it's like after like a few days, crazy things start going wrong. So I can't imagine if you're going, if you could never really fall asleep. I mean, the brain has to reboot. That's the REM cycle, the dream cycle, right? It's kicking out everything that's not valuable and refreshing itself for the next day. So if you don't have that, I could see that, starting to fail.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely needed, I mean, anybody who's missed sleep for a period of time, how they get kind of batty. They get a little strange. Now, the diagnosis of this, it's difficult, right? But they try to do it through sleep studies, like you mentioned. There's a PET scan. There's genetic testing, actually, because they found that this disease or condition actually is related to, it's called a prion disease, which I'm not going to get into the specifics because I don't totally understand it, but it's something with the proteins in your genetics. And the only way they really can tell 100% is post-mortem to do an autopsy. This is a situation, I mean, this is an actual picture of a guy who had this. And the crazy thing about the disease or condition is that it can happen anytime from the ages of 20 to 70. And the average onset of this is around the age of 40.
Do you know stats of how many people are affected by something like this? Like it's
very, very low, fortunately. But as I was doing some research, the crazy thing is I could not find anybody who survived it. Mm-hmm. That's the scary part. Now, maybe there is. Maybe I just didn't dig deep enough. But I found no stories of survivors. I did run across a story of this one guy. His name was Michael Cork in the 1990s. And he spent actually the last full 6 months of his life without being able to sleep. And it drove him nuts.
Jeez.
Yeah. And so, there you go. I mean, hopefully, if you're kind of a worrywart out there and you're having trouble sleeping, don't go here.
So here's another thing you can worry about. You might die.
Right.
Way to go, Tony.
So, folks, if you do find somebody that is really having trouble, there is a condition, so maybe you do or don't want to take them to get checked out because it doesn't sound like there's a great survival rate with this, so I don't know. Okay, ready for our next subject?
Let's have it.
Our next one is a mythical beast, a cryptid, and it's called the Alaskan Tetsaruk. I hope I said that right. It's a beast or something that's kind of folklore with some of the Native Americans. It's a large serpent-like creature that is said to inhabit the waters near Key Island in Alaska and is said to have a head and tail that's over 6 feet long. And it's got a flipper as well, like the picture shows here. And the local Inuit, I think is how you say it, the Native American in that area, say that people have been snatched off of piers. They didn't notice this thing coming near the pier, and they would jump up and take them off. So
this type of stuff I do believe. Sometimes, on one of our last episodes, we talked about a rabbit with reindeer horns and, stuff like that. Okay, that's kind of goofy to me. But this I would believe because there's so much stuff in the ocean we're not even, we haven't even explored the whole ocean. And so I could see there being some weird stuff. I mean, there's weird stuff in the ocean. So, I mean, this is something I could believe. I wouldn't want to hang out around the beach in that area, but,
This is another picture of what some people have said. It's got a very different type of skin or surface to the animal. It's almost see-through in some way, in some areas of it. You could see the insides of it.
It's like a terrifying eel is what it looks like.
Yeah.
It's a long snake-like thing with the fin at the end, and then it's crazy teeth. It's like a killer eel.
Some have alleged that this has one of these they've seen rise out of the water 7 to 8 feet to grab something and go back down.
Jeez.
It's crazy.
Yeah, that's weird.
Usually reported from bays and are less commonly found in open ocean. But there's a oral history that some of the islanders, even though they fear them, they were able to attract them to whatever boats they used to go fishing by doing a certain tapping motion on the side of their boat, and it would attract these things, apparently.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to think about that.
If you Google it, I mean, there's like some photos that look like this pretty little dragon in the water, and then there's other ones that look terrifying. So you never know. I mean, just another reason not to hang out in open water, I guess.
Well, in Alaska, I mean, as big as Alaska is, and so few people are there, so much, there's forests and all kinds of things that are just, who knows what's in that area there. So it's crazy. All right. Let's move on to our next topic. The next topic, I want to start off by saying, have you ever had a spider get onto your clothes or maybe under your bed sheets? And how did you respond to that? Some people have no problems with spiders. My daughters scream and yell when they see these things. What would you do if you had a spider either in your clothes or...
Well, I check my blankets every night, so I wring them out a little bit so make sure that there's nothing special in there waiting for me. I guess it depends on what kind of spider. The daddy long leg, I'm just, no big deal. It's a black widow. That's a different story. Those things are not so nice. So I don't know. I mean, generally, I think bugs. No one wants the bugs on them.
I agree. So this is a little bit different. Not quite like a spider, but a snake. Right? How many people... Some people love them.
Yucky.
Others, they just kind of...
What's the love about them? Look at that thing.
I know.
That nasty face.
It's just not attractive to me at all.
Yeah.
So would you rather have a spider on you or a snake?
Spider.
Yeah.
Snakes are nasty.
So here's the story, right? Not necessarily this one right here. I'm just showing you another picture, folks, of a very big snake, and some people are very comfortable having, snakes wrap around them and be on them. I wouldn't, but
Satan's animal. Some people are comfortable with those things around their neck.
yeah. So the story here is that there was an individual who actually got caught in New York by smuggling. He was smuggling 3 Burmese pythons across the U.S. border. So it wasn't in New York. He was in New York. He lived in New York, but he got sentenced for this. He smuggled 3 pythons across the U.S. border, and they caught him trying to smuggle those with the pythons in his pants. Now, fast forward, went through issues with the law. He got probation for a year, and his fine was $6,700. And that just happened in February of 2024. But it's interesting, like 3 of these things, not 1, 3.
So you're not allowed to smuggle. That's interesting because you can't bring those types of animals across the border, I guess. Or, I mean, I know that they brought them. So. There's certain places they're probably worried, like Florida. Some people introduced pythons years ago, and now it's like they have a huge problem with pythons, and they are, they pay to have people go and hunt them. I mean, it's just like an ongoing problem. So I guess maybe that would be why. But I'm curious as to why that would be. Did he get in trouble because he was running across the border, or did he get in trouble because he had snakes in his pants?
Right, or just not disclosing that he had something that he was bringing over the border. I don't know.
And why did why was that important that he put them in his pants?
Yeah, why would you do that? So, I mean, it is interesting that you have this story, and to me, we're going to watch a video real quick here of something that happened in the Pacific Northwest. So, let's watch that for the next minute, and then we'll chat.
On Monday, when you weren't here, we had a story from Portland, Oregon, of a man who stole a snake from a pet store by putting it down his pants.
Yeah. Okay,
today,
are you kidding me right now?
Today we have an update on that story. So the story, the snake has been returned. The snake has been returned. It was a somewhat small, but still not dangerous, black pastel python.
Yeah.
So this is the guy stealing it.
Pants?
Yeah. So this is the guy stealing it, and of course today's story I'm telling so we can show this video again. But the snake has been returned, and the store owner says that this getting out there on social media is why it came back. So they don't know who the thief is, but the store owner thinks the guy who brought the snake back is a friend of the thief. Although you can see on the video here, you'd be able to identify him.
He's stupid.
All right, so what did you think of that? Pacific Northwest. Another guy caught on camera sticking one of these pythons down his pants. He gets caught, of course, right there because of the camera in the store. But what in the world is this thing about putting stuff like this in your pants? I don't get it.
Yeah, that's weird. That's weird. I'm reminded by there's a movie, Jingle All the Way, and there's Sinbad is in it, and there's multiple times in the movie where he has mail. And he is in a tight corner, and he's pretending that there's a bomb in one of the boxes. He's a mailman. He pulls a box out, and he's like, "This is a bomb. Everyone back up." And everyone takes him serious, and they back up. And then you find out later it's not really a bomb. And at one point in the movie, this is way down a different rabbit hole, but at one point in the movie, he does that, and he leaves the box. There's all these police around. They think it's a bomb. He leaves because he's kind of laughing, thinking he got away with it. And the police go to open up the box, and it ends up being a small bomb. Now, no one dies. It's a funny movie. But as Sinbad's walking away, he hears the explosion. And he goes, "That was really a bomb? It's a sick world we live in, a sick world." And that's what I think. That's a long story to get to that point. But that's what I think when I see stuff like this. Is it never ceases to amaze me, some of the weird stuff people do. And I'm just like, this is a sick world. Is this someone trying to steal a snake, or is this like some weird thing that these people are into? And I don't know. It's weird. Come on, people. It's
definitely different. That's for sure. Well, okay. Our next topic and last topic for this episode is a little bit fun and funny. What we're going to do is take a look at some. This segment is just going to be some street signs that have been found across the world that people have taken pictures of. And some of them I have no idea what they were trying to communicate with these pictures. So let's take a look and get our response to some of these. So the first one, take a look at this. Hazardous bridge ahead, which that makes sense, but what is that picture there?
Yeah, it's a bike rider falling off a cliff on a big yellow sign.
Landing on rocks, it looks like.
Or the water. That looks like maybe a stream or something. I can't tell in the back page. Is this?
And it says yield to pedestrians. Yield to. I'm saying they took.
Is this a joke?
Two different things.
That's what I wonder.
It's not a joke.
Because it's almost like, be careful, there's a hazardous bridge ahead, and then it shows someone falling, and then it's telling the cars, like, hey, don't run these people over that just fell. That's what it looks like to me.
Right. So there are other ones weirder, so let's take a look. Next one. Not so strange, the top one, but the bottom one.
It's not placed well.
Yeah, maybe it means don't walk your sheep, but it looks like he's doing something else.
Yeah, so the top sign is a yellow sign with a cow. Looks like something just notifying that, hey, there's cattle. And then right below it, there's a big red X'd out of a person standing behind a sheep with their arm, like, looking a little bit like it could be a mounting thing, but obviously it's not meant to be that way. So I'm not sure what they're trying to get across here. That's
yeah.
Maybe
sheep herders doing movement.
Maybe.
I don't know. Maybe.
That's strange.
All right, next one. Yeah. I don't know what that is.
That's a unicorn. That one's saying beware of unicorns.
Right.
I'm curious, like, did someone print off some vinyl and stick it on that? You know what I mean?
Right?
Like, that's what that looks like. That can't be a real sign.
It doesn't look like it's real. I mean, like, what are they communicating here? I don't know.
Yeah, so. I don't know. And if you look really close on the corners, it almost looks like there's a darker white and a brighter white. So I wonder if someone did something funny right there. But I wouldn't put it past anyone that someone would stick that on the sign, and that could be there for years before anyone walks up and actually tries to take it off.
All right, let's take a look at the next one here. This one, I believe this is real.
This one's from some Asian country.
Yeah. I mean...
So
I believe it's real, but I think it's funny.
Yeah, it's in a bathroom. There's a bunch of X's, but one of them doesn't make sense. One of them's the way you're supposed to use the toilet, and it has a bunch of X's. And then it has the last picture is someone that is also doing something that doesn't have anything to do with going to the bathroom.
And there's two people.
Yeah. So they're saying, don't stand on the toilet, don't hike your leg on the toilet, don't hang out with another person next to the toilet, having a good old time. And then the first one is probably the way you're supposed to use the toilet. You know what's interesting about this, though, is although some of this seems funny, there, having lived in a different country for a while, like, there are legitimately people in other parts of the world that don't know how to use a toilet. You know what I mean? Like, in Ghana, they... like, because they're used to going to the bathroom in a latrine, like a hole in the ground, stuff like that. And so when they see a toilet, like a lot of people don't throw toilet paper in there. They just throw it on the side of the toilet, like on the ground. I hate to be the person who has to clean that up. And there's been stories of like people from villages that come into the town and they are told to use the bathroom and they don't understand how to use the toilet. Like I've heard stories of some people coming in from small villages using the toilet, and then the next person who was like an American or a European coming in to use the restroom after that individual, seeing like footprints in the toilet, like muddy footprints, like in the toilet. Like, whatever were they doing? Were they trying to push it down with their foot? Were they washing their feet? Like, I don't know, but there legitimately are places in the world where, and it's hard to think about that because we've had that forever. But there are places that's not normal to have flushing water in a toilet. So, that's what I think when I see some of these signs is like you have someone standing on the toilet squatting. That's a real sign. I've seen that before in Ghana, something like that. The hike in the leg one, I haven't seen some of these other ones, but this could very well be real.
Yeah, and you make a good point about some parts of the world may have different issues. Very interesting. I have a brother who lived in the Philippines for a little bit, many years ago, and he talked about one time having a situation where he was walking from one home to the next or down the street, and he saw this young person come running out of the house, and there were like little gullies on the sides of the road. I don't know how to describe it other than some kind of little gully where water and
it's like open sewers. They're like gutters, but they're like 3 feet deep.
Yes.
Or something like that. Yeah.
That's how he described it. And he said the person came out, just dropped their pants, squatted over it, went to the bathroom, and left. And he said he'd seen that happen many times.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that. So, that is happening in Ghana. There's a time I was talking to someone, and I hear a stream of water. I'm standing by this. They're gutters, basically, so that the PVC comes from the house and dumps the sewage into these gutters. And a lot of times they get clogged, which is really nasty, and then they overflow. I'd be standing there talking to someone, and I hear water, like a stream of water hitting. And I turn around, and there's a woman just peeing, standing right over the gutter peeing. And I'm like, oh, hi. And they're like, hello, mister. And I'm like, okay, continue. So, yeah, I mean,
very different situation.
Very different. We don't realize how good we have it here. I mean, even... I was listening to something the other day, and it said even when we talk about having a bad economy or a slow economy, like that is nothing compared to what some of these other places in the world have.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the next one. This one's pretty clear. It's a car and then a person airborne in front of the car going over the car. So I suspect what they mean is don't go fast. You're going to run people over.
Mm-hmm. Or this is a busy road. Don't cross the road.
Yeah.
This looks like it could be an Asian country too, just by some of the background. And I could be totally wrong. I'm totally just guessing and assuming. But I assume that some of those places in, like I said, in Asia or Europe or things like that. Some of these are not common signs in the U.S. So I'm sure it's probably somewhere over there.
Yeah. All right, let's see what's next. This one looks like it might be like in New York or something. This is interesting. My favorite part is warning, feed a pigeon, lose a finger. And it literally has a pigeon with a finger in his mouth.
Yeah. Yeah.
I believe this is a real one.
I believe this is a real one, but the question is it like a shop owner that's putting it out or something that it's, I don't know. This is like kind of sign you'd find at like a store and want to buy it.
Right. All right, let's check out the next one here. Oh, this one's a little blurry, but it looks like a guy on a wheelchair going downhill, and there's maybe
an alligator at the bottom. Yeah.
So what are they communicating here? Don't roll
there's
downhill,
a steep hill and alligators at the bottom. And don't ride your wheelchair down the hill.
Yeah. Crazy. All right. Let's see here. Warning to tourists. Do not laugh at the natives.
Maybe it's an insult.
Yeah.
That's true.
I wish I knew where this was. It would be helpful. Yeah.
I mean, don't laugh at the natives. It has to be somewhere, like I said, not in the U.S. I would assume not, because that would probably be a little derogatory to say, don't laugh at the natives.
Yeah.
Interesting. I did see a really funny sign. I don't know how many more you have here, but I saw a funny sign. I was at a restaurant the other day, or like kind of like a fast food place, and they had a sign on the bathroom, on the restroom. You know how there's usually a man or a woman. It was a man. It was a half man, and then half of the image was a woman, and then there's a line, and then there was an alien, and it said, because it was a unisex bathroom, and it said, "Whatever you are, just wash your hands." I thought that was pretty clever. Yeah, I thought that was good.
That's a pretty good one.
Obviously, that was a out of a fun-hearted thing, but I thought that was funny.
All right, let's see. Next one. I don't know what that is. It is too bad we don't see the environment around it.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's surfing or if he's sliding off the roof of a house, or it's very tough to tell what that is.
Yeah, it looks like a guy standing on a wave, but he's not surfing, and he also is reaching out his hand, and I have no idea. These are weird signs. I've never.
Weird.
I wonder how common these are in that area. Is this something that's, unique or like commonly used in the country, that whatever the origin or is it like a community that just decided to make their own sign for something that, and we don't obviously know what it is, but.
Yeah, if anybody has run across any of these signs for real, it'd be cool to find out where they're from, because we don't have that information here.
Yeah.
So, all right, this one, I think there's just this one and one more, but this looks like a little dinosaur.
Yeah, dinosaur going over a speed bump.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I'm trying to imagine what that might be trying to communicate, but
yeah, I have not. Like I said,
can't.
Yeah, and like you said, it's hard to know maybe this is at Universal Studios. I don't know. Right.
True.
Right. We might need a little backstory on the signs in the future.
Yeah.
See where they come from.
Okay, this is our last one for today. Drunken people crossing.
This one's.
We understand what it is. I love it.
Yeah, I love it too. It's probably outside of a bar. It should be if it's.
Yeah.
Hopefully, there's a bar owner that got that, but that's funny. But it looks legit. I mean, it looks like it's on a legitimate sign. Been there for a while, so I don't know. Interesting. It's always fun to see the different things. There's so many people around the country, around the world. It's fun. It's funny to see, what some of them do.
For sure. Well, that was great. You have a favorite section of our topics today, or?
I mean, the strain, the pythons and the signs and stuff. I mean, that's all. Sometimes I see that stuff and I'm just like, oh, humanity, come on. But the strange disease, that's that insomnia thing. That's something I'll probably look into a little bit more, just because I think it's pretty fascinating and interesting. Curious, can't help but be curious as to what that looks like when someone doesn't get sleep. I'm not saying I want to go watch that, and that would be a horrible thing to go through, but that piques my interest much more. The strange myths are always intriguing to me, but they always go right up to the point of actually showing proof. Like, there's lots of shows where it's like, we're going to show this, and the show will get right up to the end where it's like, you're like, let's see something, and then they're like, but we, on the next episode, da-da-da, and it cuts off, and you're like, come on. And so that's how I look at the myths. It's like, the stories are great, some of the images are great, but it does everything but, show some glimpse that it's real. So that's why I think the diseases fascinate me too. Is it is real, and it's documented, and there's things to learn from it.
Well, and I think for me, the biggest thing, I'm curious, at this point, do they have any cures? I mean, is there anything to help these poor people? I think, I hope that there is something, because it seems like a very difficult situation to be in, and if it's a family member as well, to know that there's no way out of that situation is terrifying. So I hope the number of people that get this is so minimal
Yeah.
You know,
I
but
agree.
even one person, it's terrible. So,
Yeah, I agree.
all right. Well, it's been great. Enjoyed sitting with you and sharing some of these and talking with our audience a little bit about our thoughts on some of these. I hope you enjoyed this, people, some of the different things that we went over today. And so as we wrap up, again, I want to remind everybody that there's a lot of strange and unexpected out there. So keep your minds, your ears, and your mind. I was going to say your mind, your ears, and your eyes open. I should memorize this eventually. All right. Until next time, stay safe. Take care.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to High Strangeness. This was a glance at some of the strange that exists in our reality.